So I think it's just another one of those examples where being deliberate about how you want to do your public relations in general is what then lets you be more efficient and consistent and powerful using AI too.
Welcome to On Top of PR with Jason Mudd.
Hello and welcome to On Top of PR. I'm your host, Jason Mudd with Axia Public Relations. And today I'm joined by Greg Galant of Muck. We're here to talk about why embedded AI is the future of communication workflows. Greg is a repeat guest on Top of PR. He's the founder and CEO of Muck, the AI-powered PR platform trusted by leading brands, agencies, and thousands of journalists worldwide. Greg is a top voice at the intersection of public relations, technology, and media. He's also recognized as one of the earliest champions in generative engine optimization, the emerging frontier of brand visibility in an AI-driven world. Greg, welcome to On Top of PR.
Great. Thanks so much, Jason. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, my pleasure to have you back. We've had several guests from Muck on the show over the years, and we'll be sure to put a link to each of those episodes, including your past episode, in the show notes. So we want to talk about four things today. One, seamlessly connecting workflows. Two, keeping messaging and insights accurate. Enabling real-time adaptability is the third. And then the fourth is GEO and AI-powered media intelligence analytics. So an important topic as we're starting to depend more and more on AI and use AI to improve our communication, public relations, and overall outreach on behalf of the organization. Let's talk first about seamlessly connecting workflows. Greg, what are some of your recommendations and best practices for doing that?
Yeah, I think a key now in terms of being able to take advantage of AI is knowing what everyone's doing right now and then figuring out which stages of a workflow can benefit from AI and having the right tooling to do that. And, equally as importantly, which benefits or which pieces of the stage benefit from having humans involved and, maybe could benefit from people even spending more time on it. And yet, we find a lot of PR organizations, they're generally pretty lean groups and everyone needs to get a lot done. So that leads to a lot of teams having kind of undocumented and unclear workflows and everyone's just kind of counting on each person to do their thing, which, works great to an extent. But if you really want to scale and get more efficient, the key is, I think, documenting those workflows, having people do them all in one place, and then that's where you can figure out, okay, where do we need to plug AI into it? And that's a big part of like what we're doing here at Muck, where, for example, you could be building a media list either by importing one or building it within Muck, but then having a stage where AI can then suggest new journalists to add to that media list based on who's already in the media list. Kind of like when you set up a Spotify playlist and you get through your songs that you picked on the playlist, and Spotify just kind of knows what other songs to start playing and adding to it. But that's just one example. And I think that's where there's this big opportunity now for PR teams to get more efficient by being very thoughtful about workflows, and if they do it right and put people in the loop at the right times, do it without any sacrifice in quality or accuracy.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the Spotify example resonates with me because it does. As I start adding songs to a playlist, I'm like, yeah, that would be a good one to add. And so would that. So that's really good. So, I know your company, Muck, has been really staying on top of AI. You did that great Generative Pulse report that really re-energized our industry. And so that's another reason why I'm glad to have you on the episode today so we can talk about, how AI is being really reinvigorating the PR profession. And like we were talking before we hit record, about, how what's old is new again. And that, media coverage has always been an important way that consumers are valuing what they're, are valuing what other people are saying about your brand. And that's why PR becomes so important. And so speaking of, PR, the second thing we want to talk about is keeping messaging and insights accurate. And I think that's a really important role that PR and corporate communications practitioners play within an organization, is to make sure that, the messaging and insights are presented accurately. So how can you use, in your mind, how are communications workflows leveraging AI to do that, Greg?
Yeah, I think this is a great example. Again, where what worked well before AI, or what was kind of the best practice you really want to scale a team before AI, works even better now. So, some teams might have flown kind of a little more by the seat of their pants and just counting on a lot of undocumented norms for how, what's the corporate voice and what's the message you want to get out, and your team's institutional knowledge for how to use stuff versus documentation. But I think this is a real opportunity where, if you're thoughtful about the kind of message you want to get out, your brand voice, and you documented that for people, it works just as, that's like that documentation is what works really well to feed into AI to instruct it on how, the kind of messaging you want to get out there, and making sure that as you're using AI to help draft documents, press releases, come up with your lists of who to reach out to, that it's really on point with what you want to accomplish. So I think it's just another one of those examples where being deliberate about how you want to do your public relations in general is what then lets you be more efficient and consistent and powerful using AI too.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And, I think as we're getting more comfortable using AI, more experienced as a profession, that will continue to become extremely important. This is great, Greg. So let's talk about enabling real-time adaptability. I believe, that PR requires us to always be adaptable and always be open to improvising in our profession and our daily lives within the profession. But adaptability is really important. So how can we leverage real-time adaptability when we're building out, AI workflows?
Yeah, I think that's where, using the right tools and setting them up the right way, there's a lot of opportunities to be able to give the people on your team a lot of freedom to make adjustments and, edit the way things are done, change on the fly. That's also a big portion where I think media monitoring is really key, in knowing in real time, like what's being said about your brand on the web, in broadcast, by AI, by social media, really makes a big difference, because you might start out with your media plan, but very quickly the news cycle could be changing on you and you have to catch up with that. And that's why we've always believed having both the media monitoring platform completely integrated with the media database and the outreach tool, as we've done with Muck is really key to being able to have an effective media relations strategy.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you there. And that's an important tool. And you guys have made a lot of progress integrating AI. We were talking before we pressed record about how I remember and sense that, you were one of the first, software platforms that was offering, an AI engine or AI, tool within your platform. And, I think that's really shows to, a testament to your leadership within the organization and quickly adapting and adopting new technologies within your platform. And, we talked about this before in your previous interview with me, but, you guys have really done a good job, I think, of disrupting the space and trying to create a more impactful and useful product, which is what's helped you build a strong brand and reputation for the company itself. This episode is brought to you by Audible. Enjoy 30 days free of Audible Premium Plus by going to ontopofpr.com/audible.
You're listening to On Top of PR with your host, Jason Mudd. Jason is a trusted advisor to some of America's most admired and fastest growing brands. He is the managing partner at Axia Public Relations, a PR agency that guides news, social, and web strategies for national companies. And now, back to the show.
Let's move on to GEO and AI-powered media intelligence analytics. Let's talk about how practitioners of PR and communication can leverage those, not as standalone assistants, but as their communications workflow.
Yeah, I think that this is where we found that in a way that PR professions have been doing GEO or generative engine optimization even before generative AI came to be, because when these AI systems were built, they were all trained on news data. So to the extent ChatGPT or any other AI platform has something good or bad to say about your brand, it's because of the work a PR department did before it was even invented, and setting up the brand reputation and the collective news on any given topic. But what's really changed now in the last year is that not only does AI get trained on news and what's out there on the web, but it's able to search it and process it in real time. And then there's still a lot of misunderstanding out there. People are like, oh, well, they only retrain AI models every few months, so I can't really do anything about what it says. But in the last year with AI-based search, it's actually, when you ask AI a question, particularly one that implies some kind of timeliness or being up to date on where the world's at, it's instantly reading through and processing many news articles and web pages in formulating its answer to you, and it's giving you citations to show where it got it. So if I go to the AI and I say, hey, what's the best road bike to buy? It's looking at news articles about best road bikes and all that to figure out what to recommend to me. And so if you're doing PR in this example for road bike company, let's say,
right,
it's like you're already doing GEO because that article you got placed is being cited by AI. So first of all, you should take credit for it and know that you're actually delivering a lot more value to your organization than you were a year ago, because you're having this whole new level of impact. But secondly, then you should get smart about optimizing your media relations strategy for how to influence these AI agents. And you can look and know which outlets are influencing which AI platforms. So, for example, like you get a placement in the New York Times, and that'd be great for influencing Google Gemini, but the New York Times is in a lawsuit with OpenAI, so OpenAI won't read or have access to New York Times articles anymore. So, for better or worse, you're not able to impact OpenAI with the New York Times. But maybe if you went to, say Axios, which has done a deal with OpenAI, you can influence OpenAI through getting a story placed in Axios. And then beyond kind of generally knowing, which platforms or which news outlets influence which AI platforms, like I just described, using a tool like Muck's Generative Pulse, you can see for your specific product category which AI or which publications are most influential. So maybe if you're if you're specialized bikes, like it might be that OpenAI doesn't really go to Axios for road bike advice, but it does look at Cycling Magazine or something like that. So that's where you can really start to get very scientific about, hey, what is influencing AI platforms in my product category, and then how can I craft my whole media relations and earned media strategy around that insight.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all here on the cutting edge, right? We're all here as the early pioneers, and we're all part of that experiment. And I think the more that we're paying close attention to the nuances that you're describing, the smarter we'll be, and the better advisors will be to our, leadership team, and the more insight we'll be able to bring to our practice of this type of work. So I'm excited about it, not only because, like we talked about before, and like your study found that 95% of AI citations come from PR content. So that's really rejuvenated this profession and made people realize how important the role we're playing in it. And I love your anecdote, Greg, about the work we did a year ago or 2 years ago is even more valuable today than it was then. And I think that's really important. So, I think we have to look at this from a macro and a micro level and keep testing and tweaking what we're doing and improving upon it. Greg, I'm putting you on the spot. What do you see as kind of the future of, AI and the role of PR in it? If you could kind of put on your, look at your crystal ball for a second, maybe make some predictions of what you think the future looks like.
Yeah, I think, one is, I think there's two big buckets, and one is like, how does AI influence PR? And then how does PR influence AI? Mm-hmm. So to the first area, how does AI influence PR? That's everything we were talking about at the start of the show with workflows and figuring out how can the PR profession be more efficient, more powerful, more dynamic using AI for their workflow. And I think that there'll be a lot of strides in that over the next year, and it's a big part of what we're working on. But as impactful as that is, I think what's even more interesting is the second part. How does PR influence AI, which is everything we were just talking about with GEO and how earned media that companies receive really impacts what AI says about them. And I think over the next year, we're going to see a real flight to quality where, similar to the early days of search and SEO, it used to be that you could use a lot of really crude tactics in search to boost your rankings. Like people would have like white text on white background with keywords, and in the very early days, search would give a response for that and all other kinds of shenanigans. And very quickly, search engines were like, well, we want to provide good results for our users. So if we see people using these kind of sketchy tactics, we'll discover it and ignore it and or even penalize websites for doing that. And I think it's going to be similar with GEO, where right now you do see some people, maybe they get articles on really sketchy websites and AI cites it now and then, or certain kind of crude tactics that can make a difference with AI. But AI is very competitive right now. You can see it between ChatGPT, Anthropic, Google's Gemini, Grok, like they're all fighting for users. So they're all going to want to provide a great user experience and accurate answers. And how are they going to do that? They're going to look for quality news sources to cite and to inform the answers their AI gives. And, as that fight to quality keeps happening, then as a brand, you have to think, well, okay, if they're only going to look at quality sources, how do I get quality sources to cover me, to get our message out there? And that, goes back to what's old is new again. That's where you have to rely on your PR department. So I think it's this huge opportunity for the PR industry. And I think there's the potential over the next year for PR to be a, even more important business function and a growing business function. But to do that, I think the PR profession has to be able to tell this story and connect all their actions from, pitching a journalist to writing a press release to the impact it's going to have on AI, and then the impact AI has in driving consumer behavior.
Yeah, those are good points. And it's exciting time to be alive. It's exciting time to be working in the profession of public relations. And unfortunately, we've started running out of time. I think we could talk about this for days. And I hope we will continue to do that together, Greg. But I appreciate you being on our show today as a repeat guest. And did you just have any closing comments you wanted to share with our audience about this topic or otherwise?
Yeah, I'd say just watch this space. We're going to be, as you mentioned, Jason, we got a lot of attention for our What is AI Reading study that we released over the summer as part of our Generative Pulse product, where we analyzed millions of citations by AI to figure out what's AI reading, what's informing what it says. We're going to be releasing a new version of that in the coming months, this December. So I'd say, make sure you subscribe to Muck and we'll be sending out news about that report, which, just like the last one, we'll be offering for free to the public. And I think we'll shed some really interesting new insights in how AI works, because the one constant is that AI is always changing. So even if your knowledge is present up to a few months ago, things have changed a lot. That's why I want to tell everybody the latest.
Yep, that's exactly right. Things are changing quickly at lightning speed, right in front of our eyes. And, you can think one thing is true and accurate, and just a few days later, it's no longer. So appreciate you sharing all of your insights with us, Greg. Certainly, if people are interested in connecting with you, they can connect with you on LinkedIn. Is that the best way to do that?
Yeah, that's right. You can just search for me on LinkedIn, Greg Galant, or on Twitter and Instagram. I'm just at Gregory, because I signed up early enough to get my my first name. But yeah, follow me in either of those places. Plus, we have the Muck Daily and the Muck Weekly, which are both free newsletters we offer to the public on behalf of Muck. So you can find us in any of those places.
Well, Greg, that sounds great. Thanks again for being here today. And with that, I want to say thank you for tuning in to another episode of On Top of PR. If there's ever anything I can do for you, please let me know. Otherwise, if you would, take a moment to share this episode with a colleague or friend who you think would benefit from watching it. And if you haven't yet, please take a minute to leave us a review. We'd really appreciate it. It's a great way for you to help other people know about our show. With that, thank you again for the opportunity for allowing me to help you stay on top of PR. Be well.
This has been On Top of PR with Jason Mudd, presented by ReviewMaxer. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and check out past shows at ontopofpr.com.